Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Okay, business leaders, are you here to play or are you playing to win? If you're in it to win, meet your next MVP. NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is your full business management system in one convenient suite. With NetSuite, you're running your accounting, your finance, your HR, your e-commerce, and more, all from your online dashboard. Upgrade your playbook and make the switch to NetSuite, the #1 cloud ERP.
Get the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/tech. netsuite.com/tech.
This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/ACAST and use code ACAST at checkout.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay. And you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. March 7th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up on context, help each other understand this crazy old technology world.
Today, John Croteau, CEO of Python, tells us more about their wearable technologies and then a little something from your emails.
I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Huyen Dao.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. I'm no fun, Huyen.
I know, Tom. It's okay.
I know. I'm that guy. APOC_V posted a story from the Register called Pentagon to Give AI Agents a Role in Decision-Making Ops Planning. And immediately people started making jokes about, AI precision and Doge. And then I wandered in and Debbie Downered the entire party because fortunately, or unfortunately, I guess, depending on your position, this story is not about giving robots guns or building Skynet yet, or even obvious government graft. As part of the U.S. Defense Innovation Unit's Thunder Forge project, a company called Scale AI will provide agentic AI that will help in planning and operations. The project isn't just using Scale AI. It will use Anduril's Lattice software and Microsoft's large language models out of Azure, with Scale providing the agent that takes advantage of both of those. The U.S. Defense Innovation Unit, or DIU, told the Register it will draw on a database of, quote, up-to-date validated information across all classification levels. So they're limiting what information it can give you to reduce things like inaccuracies and hallucination. They want this thing to be really accurate and helpful. And the idea is to use the agent to rapidly simulate war games and scenarios and then offer information, including proposed courses of action. So commanders could use this in mission planning, in campaign development, allocating resources, strategic assessments, that kind of thing. The U.S. military already uses Scale AI's products in non-combat areas like after-action reports and measuring performance. So this is an expansion into aiding humans in making decisions in combat operations. System is going to be tested with the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command headquartered in Hawaii and the U.S. European Command based in Germany. So it's an effort to speed up decision-making. A lot of the stuff they said in support of this was, warfare moves faster than ever. We're using Napoleonic era decision-making technology, which I guess means human brains. And I don't know, it made me think of like those big wooden sticks where you move models of
Across
the troops.
the board, yeah.
Yeah, across the board. So I don't think it's quite that bad, but they want to speed things up for the modern age. So it appears to be picking a combination of the best systems from multiple competitive providers, none of which are currently working for the U.S. government. And the company getting the award was founded by Chinese-American Alexander Wang and Lucy Guo. It's not an easy stereotype of a story. So again, I apologize to the folks having fun on Reddit for me being no fun.
I'm okay with you not being fun in this regard, because I think if you look at the headline, the first thing you think is, are they just going to type in what should I do here into ChatGPT and then just roll out with Pentagon? But I think that was my first reaction when I saw the headline. I was like, oh dear. But
sure. Mine too.
Yeah. But actually, I have a little context on this because and it's really weird. I used to work for the Navy labs and I actually studied multi-agent systems, which is a form of AI, not the same thing as agentic AI necessarily in school. So I guess for what it's worth, a lot of these problems and a lot of these solutions have been in the works for a long time. It's not just, for example, everyone's using AI now. Let's use AI too at the Pentagon. These are like long researched, techniques and things like that. And actually especially the ops thing is very interesting. For example, I think I can say at least this much. When I was in school, one of the problems that I worked on was scheduling, which is basically you have a resource, you have either time or physical slots to put those resources, and you have a bunch of constraints. Those problems can get really, really, really hard. And, AI, different kind of AI-based techniques can be really, really good at helping you solve those problems that a human, sitting at a whiteboard with a lot of markers trying really hard might have a harder time and take a really long time to do. So a lot of these things are just things that people have been working on. So I guess no fun, but also feel better about any existential crises or panics that you're having that we might end up in like a Matthew Broderick war game scenario or something. So, yes.
Yeah. The only winning move is not to play. Like, that hasn't changed. But still, this is not the computer taking over the thermonuclear war game. And having used enough of these tools now, I get the idea of sometimes there's an answer and you kind of know what the right answer will look like, but you don't want to go through the time that it will take. Yeah. And you can put it into a large language model, or even better, an agentic, like deep research kind of model, and say, give me the answer. And you'll know when you get it, whether it was done right or not. You'll be able to see that, but it'll just be done faster. Right. And that's the kind of thing you're talking about with scheduling. So I get where this would be very helpful in things like that. Absolutely. I mean, humans make mistakes. Your mileage might vary on whether you think we make more or less mistakes than, say, a lot of the LLMs or agentic models lately. But yeah, it's just giving us another way of processing data, coming up with a set of, coming up with a confidence score on, whether the answer is right or how right the answer is, or it's not as crazy. It's not Skynet, thank goodness. Yeah. So. And you know what? I just realized you could probably take comfort in the fact that there are plenty of generals and commanders and bosses of all kinds in the world who won't take advice from anyone, including agentic AI. So they're just going to do what they think is the right thing. It's always the human element, for better or for worse. Yep, exactly. Well, DTNS is made possible by you, the listener. Thank you to DeLacer, Brad, Kevin Morgan, and Dean Shiro. Yay.
AI requires a lot of compute power, and the cost for your AI workloads can spiral. That is, unless you're running on OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. This was the cloud built for AI, a blazing fast enterprise-grade platform for your infrastructure, database apps, and all of your AI workloads.
Right now, Oracle can cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to OCI. Minimum financial commitment and other terms apply. Offer ends March 31st. See if you qualify at oracle.com/dailytech. Oracle.com/dailytech.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Applebee's has a brand new Big Easy menu. It features all your Bourbon Street favorites in one new menu. Plus a new Bourbon Street chicken and andouille sausage penne starting at just $11.99.
Limited time price, participation, and selection may vary.
With the Redfin app, you'll know the moment your next place hits the market. Whether you're looking to buy your dream home or rent a sweet apartment, give Redfin your gotta-have-it wish list of property features, and you'll receive real-time notifications tailored just for you. Ready to see it up close and personal? Scheduling a tour is just a tap away. Don't wait to find your perfect match. Download the Redfin app and start searching today.
From ADT comes Trusted Neighbor, the new standard in home access. Through the ADT Plus app, easily grant and automate event-based or scheduled access for neighbors, friends, and helpers. Notify trusted individuals of events like alarms or packages, and set access windows for planned guests or even the dog walker without interrupting your day. Visit ADT.com. When every second counts, count on ADT. Requires ADT Complete Pro monitoring plan and compatible devices. Copyright 2025 ADT LLC. All rights reserved.
Oh, there's still more that we need to know today. So let's get right to the briefs.
Well, at Mobile World Congress, Australia's Cortical Labs showed off CL1, a computer powered by living tissue, specifically human brain cells. Hold on a minute before I think we fell into another like sci-fi movie, but hold on a second.
Right? Like, don't worry about the AI taking over the military, but we did put a brain in a jar.
Okay, well, this particular system takes advantage of the ability of neurons to rewire and learn dynamically. So instead of using raw computer power to simulate a neural network, the CL1 uses an actual neural network, the thing that they were actually based on. The neurons sit on an electrode array, and electric signals strengthen or weaken connections. One use of the system would be to test how neurons react to different compounds in real time for the treatment of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, as well as speeding up clinical trials. It can also be used for robotics and autonomous systems. A full server rack of these units uses as much energy as a high-end gaming PC. It's a little more expensive than a high gaming PC. Each unit costs $35,000 and is available through a cloud service from Cortical Labs. Yes, this is in fact a shipping commercialized product.
Yeah, you have the means. You can rent some time from a brain in a jar. It is not a brain in a jar. Let's just be clear about that. Let me go back to being no fun again. It is a very small number of cells spread out on an electrode. The chances of it gaining consciousness are vanishingly close to zero. There's a lot of ethical guidelines if you want to dig into that stuff that they put in place, but mostly these things are just taking in numbers and putting out numbers. So it's just faster and more power efficient at doing that.
So amazing. There's so much of our computing knowledge and history and just the way that we do things is based on natural processes like the brain. And now we've gotten to a point in 2025 where we're circling back around and just being like, all right, we're just going to go to the source now and use that. It's amazing.
You know what's really good at this stuff? The brain.
The actual brain stuff, like neurons.
Yeah.
Like they're really good.
Yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the Star Trek Voyager connection with the neural processing, the neural packets or whatever they were called. I can't remember.
The little packages. And then there was one episode where they all turned black because they got a cold or something.
They got a virus, like an actual virus. Yeah.
I went a little more old school. At first, when I read this, I thought of the time that someone stole Spock's brain and put it in a box.
Yes, right.
So,
the prototype.
Yes, the prototype. Yeah. So not that. More of the gel packages that got a cold on Voyager. Yeah. So more like that.
We're closer to that. We had some fun on Wednesday talking to models from Sesame, Miles and Maya, which are based on Meta's Llama models. Well, the Financial Times reports that Meta wants to make that a shipping feature in its own stuff and plans to improve the voice features in its next flagship model, Llama 4. At a Morgan Stanley conference this week, Meta Chief Product Officer Chris Cox said that Llama 4 will be an omni model capable of interpreting and outputting speech, text, and other types of data.
Well, on Wednesday, a federal judge in Brazil ordered Apple to let third-party apps into the App Store there within 90 days. So this ruling is in response to a decision made by a regulator in November that, unsurprisingly, Apple has been appealing. The judge did note, however, that since Apple has implemented similar changes in Europe, it can do so in Brazil as well. And we certainly expect Apple to appeal this ruling as well.
Yeah. No, Apple was trying to say like, well, we need a lot of more time to implement this. And the judge is like, we gave you some time and you implemented it somewhere. So, maybe look at what you did there. I don't know. Speaking of Apple, there's always follow-ups after an Apple announcement. We have a couple to note here, maybe 3. We have the introduction of an M4 MacBook Air. The M3 MacBook Air, therefore, is now discontinued. That's not a surprise, but what may be a surprise is that the M2 MacBook Air is remaining available in non-Apple retail channels. So you won't go into an Apple store and find it, but you can find it in other stores for less than the new M4 version. Also, the first benchmarks of the Mac Studio's M3 Ultra are in. The benchmarks of the M3 Ultra are higher than the M4 Max on Geekbench 6, but not that much. Keep in mind that the benchmark is just for the CPU, and the M3 Ultra has an improved GPU as well, up to 80 cores, as well as higher memory bandwidth. So in practice, you may see the M3 Ultra perform better at a lot of tasks. The takeaway seems to be if you don't need GPU intensive tasks, you can probably opt for the M4 Mac Studio and save yourself a few dollars. But if you do need GPU intensive stuff, that M3 Ultra will probably benefit you. Finally, the Apple spokesperson Jacqueline Roy told Daring Fireball that the more personalized Siri is delayed. She wrote, "It's going to take us longer than we thought to deliver on these features, and we anticipate rolling them out in the coming year." So sometime before the end of the year, I guess.
Well, China gets a lot of attention for selling affordable electric vehicles, and unfortunately, Toyota has a reputation for not doing EVs well. So it is pretty noteworthy that Toyota has begun selling a full self-driving electric car, the Boji 3X, in China on Thursday. And that sells for the equivalent of $20,000. Toyota says it received 10,000 orders within the first hour after launch.
Yeah, somebody taking some competition to BYD in their home market there.
And it's Toyota. Surprise.
And it's Toyota.
Not on my bingo card.
Yeah. A study published in the journal JAMA Dermatol found that those red and blue LED devices that claim to reduce acne do in fact reduce acne. The theory is that the light kills the Cutibacterium acnes bacteria and also reduces inflammation. And the study conducted clinical trials on 216 participants with mild to moderate acne and found a 45.3% reduction in acne, with the greatest improvement coming after 4 to 12 weeks. They also said a combination of red and blue light was the most effective. And said these kinds of things are a good choice for those who get side effects from other more effective anti-acne medications. So medication's still the better way to defeat it, but maybe it doesn't work well with your stomach or you have other side effects. So this is a good alternative. It's also still best used in conjunction with other doctor-recommended therapies. And, in one of the interviews I saw about this, the scientists behind this said, buy a good one. Don't just get the cheapest one you can find on Temu. Like, you want actual red and blue LEDs in it.
I actually use this. I had had moderate to severe acne as a kid. So I did go through all the rigmarole of all the different commercialized and non-commercialized medications. Some of the acne medications like, Accutane are effective, but have a lot of, kind of systemic side effects depending on your mileage. So yes, as an adult, especially as a 40-year-old woman, kind of worrying about how my face is going to look in like 10 years, I started using these. So yes, I have one. It's a mask. It makes me look like a villain from like Doctor Who or something. But yes, that's really great to hear that there's science-backed evidence. Colloquially, or I guess not colloquially, I think there are studies also that if you're like me and of a certain age, the red light might also, again, this is just when remembering something that she might have heard, so take it with a grain of salt, that red light might also help with collagen production, so keeping your skin a little more elastic and longer. But yes, they work, and please buy a good one. Sometimes the cheap ones are just some LED, like it feels like an LED strip glued onto like a face mask. Definitely don't do that.
Yeah, I have seen these in dramas as product placement, and I've always wondered, like, does that really work? So I was really excited to see this and be like, oh, look at that. It really does work. That's great.
And they're chill to use. You just sit around. It does kind of, if you have the red, white, blue ones, it does make it hard to see. I've walked around with one and I've bumped into things just because you have red and blue light shining in your face. So don't do that. Sit down, read a book.
That's a good point.
Advice, firsthand.
Good tip.
All right. Well, a Chinese agentic AI app called Manus got a lot of attention for supposedly being very good at complex tasks. Maybe it got too much attention as Manus had to apologize for not being able to take on more users. The company has not disclosed which LLMs it is using either, and its X account got suspended for violations. So if you hear buzz about Manus, now you know why. And if you never hear it of again, this may also explain why.
That's good to know. The latest beta build of Google's Gboard for Android has changed the key shape to circles. They're actually kind of like pills if you're doing the 4-row layout, but they're very circular in the 5-row layout. It also moves the position of the keys a little, so your muscle memory might be off. You can turn off keyboarders in settings if it annoys you. This is also a beta, so you could not be in the beta. When I could already tell this annoys you, doesn't it?
Yes, I just got this surprise. I am on the Gboard beta, especially for like Android faithful and stuff. Always good to be in the beta. Yes, as soon as I saw this, I had a visceral reaction. WTF? Yes, and I agree. Yes, my mechanical memory, my machine memory. What is the word?
Muscle memory.
Muscle memory. Thank you. Was completely disrupted. I hate it. Maybe I'm being over dramatic. I hate it.
There's apparently another camp of people who are just as mad at the people who hate it for going online and complaining about it.
Okay.
You know. So there's a little Gboard war brewing online right now over this.
I'm opinionated, but I'll stay Switzerland or otherwise neutral in this. But personally, oh God, this isn't the beta, so this is a good chance to tell the Google, like, maybe make this something you could turn on if you want. That's like another thing, though. I know that is in the settings. It actually was kind of hard for me to figure out where in the settings it was to turn off. Yeah, I still haven't figured it out, so I'm going to try again after the show. France's Mistral released a new optical character recognition, or OCR, API called Mistral OCR. So this can extract text from handwritten notes, typed text, tables, equations, and more using PDFs and other images. And this it can output text as structured data, making it way easier to search and analyze. In fact, it benchmarks at OCR better than Gemini, Azure, and GPT-4o in all categories. And it's being pitched to businesses that need help turning documentation into structured data useful for generative models to parse. The API is integrated into Mistral's LeChat if you want to try it.
And AMD announced that the 12-core Ryzen 9 9900X3D and the 16-core Ryzen 9 9950X3D will both launch March 12th for $599 and $699 respectively. That's the same as the launch price of the previous 7900 X3D and 7950 X3D. These are for people who do heavy gaming and heavy non-gaming stuff all at the same time. Those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper into an ongoing story and follow up on yesterday directly.
Well, previously, yesterday, Tom talked to John Croteau, CEO of Python, about their wearable technology that measures cognitive capability. In part 2, we ask him how that works in practice, especially in the world of baseball.
So talk to me a little bit about how that works, because I think people can wrap their head around the idea of like, oh, okay, so I can measure endurance or I could measure energy levels, but how do you measure cognition?
So we use an active test methodology. It's called mental chronometry. So if you look it up, do a Google search, you'll see it's been in use for 100 years. It's, the way doctors use to assess different parts of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is, and instead of laboratory equipment where you test that, we've put it on the wrist, available 24/7. People can test in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, and they can basically assess. We have currently 3 protocols. We're working on more. In 20 seconds, we can detect your mental acuity, right? So we can detect, are you at baseline? It's, you're normal. Or are you impaired? Are you impaired because of poor sleep? Are you impaired because you might have gotten a hit in the head, a subconcussive hit, for instance?
Mm-hmm.
Chronic fatigue, anxiety. Anxiety is the natural human reaction to stress. It's natural. Everybody deals with anxiety. And it's your brain's beginning to kind of melt down because it can't deal with the stress and uncertainty.
And that 20 seconds, am I answering questions or tapping circles? What am I doing?
No, actually, so for the Timex device that you referred to, we use an LED. We light up an LED and we say, look, do anything with your hand.
Okay.
And what we're measuring is from the light going in your eye to the neurons passing down past your wrists. We don't measure the hand movement.
Mm-hmm.
We measure your cognitive premotor time extremely precisely and with high repeatability. So we have degrees of sensitivity that no one has ever had. While mental chronometry is like 100 years old, the degree of precision and the insights that we're garnering from that are totally new.
Fantastic. And obviously, there's some major leaguers using this. It's being used in medicine and health areas. But I know you've got a new announcement regarding prep baseball. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reason why we picked baseball, as I started talking about, is it's also a data-driven sport. I mean, sabermetrics, everybody's used to, whether it's exit velocity, spin rate, launch angle. It's a data-driven sport. And we have a new type of data. And that type of data is highly predictive of your baseball capability. So we saw this. We did pilot programs with 5 D1 college programs last spring. And we saw kids that ended up first-round draft picks. In fact, one of them was slated to go number 1. He went number 7, J.J. Weatherholt, who's a brand ambassador for us. And his cognitive scores were just off the chart. So it's kind of intuitively obvious. If you can react and make the right decision quickly, it's indicative that you're going to do pretty well in baseball.
Yeah, Weatherholt is who Derek Gould was interviewing on that podcast I mentioned, and he seemed pretty pleased with what he's getting from it.
Oh, he crushed it. He was a power user last spring, and we learned a lot from him, to be honest. And so with PBR, to get back to your question,
yeah.
So prep baseball is like one of the premier scouting services in the U.S. And what we're announcing on Tuesdays is that they're incorporating our test methodology into the scouting services. So now scouts and college recruiters will get access to the players' cognitive scores and be able to track those through the recruiting window. Because there are certain aspects that are kind of innate in your neurocognitive capability, neurophysiological limits. There are other things that you can develop. And there was a study done 20 years ago in Japan that we basically emulated that shows that with baseball training, you can improve your decision-making ability, and we can track that. So that predictive capability, I mean, we had college coaches and major league coaches, using the term Moneyball 2.0,
mm-hmm.
which is not inaccurate, because if you can take a Weatherholtz out of a stack of, a lot of elite athletes, that's a big deal in the sport.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like you said, this sport has been built on stats. From batting average and ERA up to wins above replacement, and this is the next the next evolution of that. Would you call it the sixth tool?
Well, that's exactly the term we're using. In fact, baseball people talk about the mental game. Well, we're quantifying the mental game, right? And when you say mental game, it's you have good days and bad days. It's not like you're always the same. And that's when you start getting into the methodology and the regimens that coaches are putting in place. You can have a player like we have a brand ambassador, Anthony Alfredo, who's a NASCAR driver. He realized he can predict when he's getting sick. His cognitive scores drop a day before.
Mm-hmm.
In the sport of NASCAR racing, that's a big deal.
Sure.
That's accidents. That's safety. That's so it's fairly profound for anybody who uses their brain to be able to track and have actionable data insights into their current, cognitive state. Any given day, any given time. And a lot of our activity now is actually focused on mitigations. Okay. So the coaches started saying, okay, now we've detected this player is not in a good place. What do we do about it?
Mm-hmm.
So we hired some great guys. One guy, Donovan Santos, who just came from the Yankees. He was their sports performance coach. And they have everything from cryobaths to hydration to, frankly, we have one school that's using music as a mitigation.
Mm.
So there's many things you can do to get back in the zone. But, if you can't measure it, you can't determine what works for you.
Yeah, you don't know you're out of the zone.
Exactly. I mean, you kind of sense you might not be in the zone, but normally you get into the batter's box and strike out.
Yeah. And
right?
then you know.
Then you know.
Yeah.
So that predictive capability on any given day or any given prospect is, for a game like baseball, is profound.
Yeah, I imagine, especially in baseball, maybe not so much in driving, but in baseball, you could adjust how you use a player based on this information and not just be like, well, he plays or he doesn't play.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we've totally crushed it. We hired a bunch of, actually 2 active major league coaches, and that's exactly what they said. How you attack an at-bat against a certain pitcher, you can actually adjust on how you're going to deal with things, knowing that your reaction time isn't where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of insights, throughout the course of a game, throughout on any given day or any given season, people, the people we're working with are figuring out ways. They use the term to weaponize the data, right? To get a competitive advantage, proprietary competitive advantage based upon the insights we provide.
This is interesting stuff, John. I could talk to you all day about it. Thank you so much for taking the time. If people want to find out more about Pyson, where should they go?
Pyson.com.
Easy enough. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, sir.
If you have a thought about something on the show but don't know our email address, let me tell you our email address. It is, got a pen? feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, RW is back with another excellent summary of the last episode.
I'm not trying to cause a competition, but I'm telling you folks, you need to step up your email games here because RW is killing it.
The W and RW is for winning. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. He wrote crease free. Would need to see the test results. However, that's way in the future. Apple and tennis love this show. Prediction show needed. Random greetings from Ponty. Excellent insights yet again. Good work.
Thank you. Our speculation.
Yeah. Big thanks to John Croteau and RW for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. It is made possible by our patrons. Thank you, patrons. Patreon.com/DTNS. You can also hang out with us live. We do a live DTNS on YouTube and Twitch. You can find details about that at dailytechnewsshow.com. We will see you again on Monday. Bye, everybody. This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show Briefing were created by the following people. Host, producer, and writer Tom Merritt. Host and writer Jason Howell. Co-host Rob Dunwood. Co-host Jen Cutter. Co-host Huyen Dao. Producer Anthony Lemos. Producer Roger Chang. Editor Hammond Chamberlain. Editor Victor Bognot. Science correspondent Dr. Nikki Ackermans. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods, Beatmaster W. Scottus 1. BioCow. Captain Kipper. Steve Guadarrama. Paul Reese. Matthew J. Stevens. Stevens, a.k.a. Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music provided by Martin Bell and Dan Luters. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Tom McNeil. And our guests this week included Bodie Grimm and John Croteau. Thanks to all the patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.